Hello and welcome to this new Android development tutorial. This is part 4 on how to create a PDF reader application for Android. On the previous tutorials, we learned how to create the adapter, how to create the list view, how to read files, how to ask permissions, how to set up an external library, how to show a PDF view, and also how to use the on-back pressed button, how to hide views, and how to use logic to know the current state of the application. In this tutorial, we'll be expanding a bit our adapter to make it able to change the background color of the cells. So to do that, we're gonna do the following. As global variable, we're gonna say private integer array, and I'll set it to background colors. Background colors. Okay? And inside the onCreate method, after we've done all of these on long click listener and all of that, what I'm going to do, well, actually, before actually should be a better place. Yeah, I think so. So just after the set on content view thing, I'm gonna create the background colors with the following. I'm gonna say final int max item count or max items, and I'll set it to 100. Okay. Then I'm gonna allocate memory for background colors. To do that, I'm gonna say background colors equals new int, and I'll pass the max item right here. So now I have a place in which I can store background color. Now I want to set these background colors default to white. So I'm gonna create a for loop to do that. So I'm gonna say for int I equals 0, and I'm gonna say I less than max items and I plus plus. Okay? Okay, great. Now inside this for loop, I'm gonna fill the background colors. I'm gonna say background colors at I equals color dot white, right? And that's basically how we will initialize background colors to its default state. Now, what we have to do is we're gonna go on the adapter, gonna switch, scroll down to the adapter, and inside the load data, inside the set data method, we want to pass also the background colors. Okay, so we want to copy background colors too. So how can we do that? Okay, so here I'll pass them as follows, comma int array m background colors. Okay, and so when I pass this thing, I have to copy those colors into an external array thing right here. So I'm gonna say int array, I'm gonna say adapter background colors. Okay, and inside these, after I add all the data, I'm gonna say adapter background colors will be equal to new integer array, and the size of these will be the same as data dot size. Okay, pretty straightforward, because we want to show the amount of items we have, which is the same as this data of the size of the data array list. Okay, so that's adapter background colors. Now we have to create a for loop that will copy m background colors into adapter background colors. So I'm gonna say for int I equals 0, I less than data.size, okay, and I plus plus. I will open this for loop, and inside this I'm gonna say adapter background colors at I equals m background colors at I. Okay. So apart from using this, we have to also modify the get view. So apart from setting the text, so before setting the text, we will also set the background color. Actually, just after the text view, we will set the background color. So I'm going to say text view that set background color, and I'm going to say adapter background colors at position. Okay, which as default will be white. Great, right? Now, every time we call the setData method, what I have to do is, apart from passing the list of data, I also have to pass the background colors, right? Great. So let's do that just now. As you can see right here, when I'm reading the files, I'm setting the data, and I also have to pass my background color. So I'm going to pass background colors, and I have to make sure that load data is called after I set the background colors, right? I mean, yeah, load data should be called after I set background colors, which is true because I'm setting background colors very, very early on. Okay, so here are my background colors, and load data is called on the onResume method, from the onResume method. Okay, great. Now, let's now test it to check if it doesn't crash or is not an error somewhere in the code. Okay, so now I'm sending the app to the emulator to check if we have some errors, and as you can see, we don't. If I long click on one of them, I still don't see the color changed, but I will fix that now. Okay, so how can I fix it? I will have to go inside the onItem-click-listener, and apart from showing the top bar, what I have to do here is that I also have to set and change the background colors and update the data. For example, I'm going to say background colors at position, and to select it, I will set it to light gray. So I'm going to say color.lt gray. You can again choose another color if you want. And after I do this, I have to update the data of the adapter. So I'm going to say adapter.setData. And what I'll do here will be, of course, list, or it's data actually. Yeah, data and background colors. Okay. So now we're going to run this and we will check if this works. Okay, so now we're here and I will long click on this, and as you can see, we have it turned into a light gray background, which means we're selecting it. Okay, there's still more that we can do here. For example, if we want to keep track of which cells are selected, we can do the following. We're gonna say private integer array selected cells. Okay, and here I will also set the selected cells right here. So I'll set selected cells equals to new integer array of max items. Okay, so now we have our selected cells right here, and what I'll do is also I will define a selected cells index. So I'm gonna say private int selected cells index, and I'll set these to 0. Okay. Okay, so we have selected cells index and selected cells. Now I have to fill that selected cells integer arrays as I selecting the item. So here on the onItem long click listener, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna say selected cells at selected cells index, and I'll set it to position. Okay, great. Now we also have to create a Boolean flag that will tell us if selection mode is enabled. So I'm gonna say private, again, you don't have to make it private, but it's kind of a good practice. So private Boolean is selection enabled. And of course, this will be false as default. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is inside the onLongClick listener, we're gonna set isSelection enabled and we'll set it to true. Okay, and what we have to do when the item is clicked, we will perform and open all of these and set read mode to true only when selection is false. So I'm gonna say if selection enabled, if isSelection enabled, I'm gonna unselect right here. So I'm gonna do that later. So unselect, and otherwise I'm gonna do open the file only when selection mode, only when selection enabled is false, right? So let's try to run the app to check how far it's going, everything. Okay, so now we are here on this view. If I long click on one of these, I have this selection here. If I long click another, I still have that, and I can keep selecting more than one item at a time. Okay, so now I have to implement the onSelect feature. So the onSelect feature right here, what I have to do is, first of all, I have to change the color of the current position. So I'm gonna say, for example, selected. I'm gonna check if it's selected. So to do that, I'm gonna create a for loop. So it'd be for int I equals 0. Okay, so int I equals 0, I less than selected cells index. Okay, and here I'll say I plus plus. Okay. Oops. Okay, so this is how we can do this. Now, inside this for loop right here, what we have to do is we have to keep on selecting the things that we were previously selecting, right? Yeah. So let's do just that. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna check if, well, we can have a selected thing, the index can also be 0, so we have to set and initialize the selected cells too. So here, when we initialize the background colors to white, we will initialize selected cells at I, we will initialize it to -1. Okay, so that's how we can do this. Okay, so now that we have initialized it to -1, this means that every time this finds a -1, it will know that the cell is not being selected. Okay, great. Now let's go back to the onSelect feature. So inside this for loop right here, I have to check if the current cell is not selected. For that, I'm gonna say if selected cell, if selected cells is different than -1, it means that we have found a selected cell. Oh, actually, selected cells at I. Selected cells at I is different than -1. And if that's true, it means we have found a selected cell. So what we have to do there is we have to just return here, but before returning, we have to unselect the cell. Okay, so how can we unselect this cell? So first of all, we have to change the background color, right? So I'm gonna say background colors at I, and I will set the background color to color.white. Okay, so now that I have reset the background color to white, what else do I have to unselect it? Well, of course, I have to set selected cells at I equals -1. Okay, so this is how we unselect this. And now we have to make those changes effective by updating the data. So I'm gonna say adapter.set data, I'll pass data, and the second parameter I'll pass background colors. And as you can see, now I'm gonna run the app and check that this works as I expect. So now I'm running the app, and here I will long click this, and I will long click something, and I'll long click something else. If I just do a single click on something that's not selected, nothing happens. If I click, which is exactly what we programmed it to do, if I click on something that is selected, it's still not being unselected. So we have to fix that. Okay, so how can we fix that? Well, first we have to make sure that the eSelection enabled is set to true when we long click on something. Okay, so we are doing that. Yeah, that's okay. Now we also have to make sure that select the cell index has the right value. And in this case, it doesn't. So every time we store something on selected cells, we have to increment the selected cells index, right? So you're gonna say selected cell right here, selected cells index plus plus. Okay, so maybe that's why it's not being unselected. So let's check now. So now I'm running the app again, and I will check if now the unselection feature works. Okay, so I'm on the app. I will select the first, the third, and the fifth, and I will click on something that's not selected, and nothing happens, and something is wrong here. So let me check. If I click here, then we have some errors right here because we are not handling this correctly. All right? Yeah. So we have to fix this to think better. How can we achieve this in a better way? Okay. So first we will start this with an item long click listener, right? We just show this bar, we change the background color to light gray, we set the data, we set the selected cells, index, we increment it, and we set selection enabled, which is I think good enough. Okay, now here when we're clicking this, we're checking if a selected cell is different than -1. That means that we have found a selected cell. In that case, we have to unselect that cell. To unselect that cell, what we have to do is we set, of course, the background color to white. Okay, then we set the selected cells that to -1, and we again do the data. Now let's try to reproduce the error to figure out what's going on with the app. So here we are, and I will long click on something and the bar appears. I will long click on this again, and when I keep long clicking on it, I should not keep adding it again. So I have to check that too. So to do this, I will do the following. So inside the on item long click, I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna say if selected cells at position actually, if it's different than -1, this means the current cell it's actually selected. So we could have to do nothing here, and we will return it true. Okay. Okay, so let's run again to check if this doesn't make the app crash, right? So let's check again. So I'll long click on the first one, I'll long click on the third, I'll long click on the fifth, I will long click again here, and I keep long clicking. And what happens here is that the changes are not being visually updated for us, so we cannot do anything. So we have to keep fixing these in order for us to have a more stable app, right? So let's do it right now. So I will long click on the first, then I'll long click on the third, and now I'll long click on the fifth. And now if I just click on the third, then nothing is happening. So something is wrong here. So I have to fix this in a better way. Okay? So how can I fix this? Well, I'll go to our onItemClick listener and I'll try to figure out how this is behaving. Okay, so inside this onItemClick listener, I'm checking if the selection is enabled. And if the selection is enabled, it means that we have at least one item that is selected, right? So what I have to do is check what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, so I have at least one item that is selected, and I use this for loop to actually find which item I am selected. The problem here is that I should check only for the position, and I'm not checking with position, right? So that's wrong. So what should I be checking here is the following. I should check if selected cells at I is equal to position. So in this way, I think we can improve this. Okay, so I'm gonna run this again and I'll check if this works now. Okay, so I'm running this again and I'll long click on the first, the third, and the fifth. And if I click on it again, it still works kind of a bit better than previously, but not really good. So I still have to fix that. So for the next video, I will find you a good way of fixing this, and I will show you a better way of doing all of this. But for now, I will be focusing a bit more about the rename feature and the delete feature. Okay? So let's try to focus on those features a bit more. Okay, so to delete something, we can create a method in which that method will receive maybe the file we want to delete, right? So you're gonna say private void delete file. Okay, so private void delete file, and inside this I'm gonna receive a file, and I will call this file to delete. As you can see, if I open this method right here, I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna first check and say file to delete that delete. Actually, if file to delete exists, I want to delete it. If not, I don't want to. So I'm gonna say if file to delete that exists, I'm gonna say file to delete that delete. Okay, we can improve this later, but now we're gonna do also the rename thing. So I'm gonna say private void rename file, and I'm gonna say file, and here we're gonna say file to rename, and inside here I'm gonna say again if file to rename that exists, I'm gonna say file to rename dot rename to, and I will rename to something, and of course I have to receive the new name of the file. So I'm gonna say string file new name, actually just new file name right here. Okay, so we have this, and inside this we gotta say rename to new file name. Okay, now we have a warning right here in which we have to say new file. We have to create a new file before renaming it to our new file name. Okay, so this is basically how we can do this, right? But after we've done this, what we have to do is we want to update the adapter too. So we want to maybe list the files again, or not really, maybe we just want to delete it, but we may want to list all the files again. Okay, so we gonna say load data. After we delete the file, we're gonna say we will call load data, and after we rename the file, we will also gonna call load data, because if we rename the file, we also want to call load data, right? Because we want to update the contents and we want to show the new file name, so that's kind of a must for us right now. So that's basically it, and that's it for this video. In the next video, which will be the last video, we will implement these, we will fix these bugs with a better method, a better way of doing things, just a couple of tweaks really. And we will also implement the rename feature and the delete feature. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I see you in the next one. Bye.